Alright, so we are continuing with the break of structure, right? Yeah, so we talked about break of structure in an uptrend market and then break of structure in a downtrend market. And I explained that break of structure in an uptrend market means that what the market wants to continue pushing to the upside, and then break of structure in a downtrend market means the market wants to continue pushing to the downside. So once the market breaks structure to the upside, keeps on creating higher highs and higher lows, and then also break structure to the downside, keep on creating lower highs and lower lows. That means what? We are going to continue moving down. The market is trying to indicate to you that you, the trader looking at the chart, I want to keep pushing to the upside or to the downside, right? So if the market is breaking highs to create new higher highs, it wants to keep moving up. If the market is breaking lows to form new lower lows, it wants to keep pushing down. So break of structure is an indication to you, the trader, the market wants to keep going to the direction it's moving currently, right? Its intended direction. Now we are going to talk about minor break of structure and then major break of structure. This is going to be a build up on the major structure and the minor structure we talked about. And I said major structure deals with range, right? And the minor structure is found in the bigger range of the major structure, right? So if we pick this whole diagram as our major structure, this higher highs and higher lows will belong to the major structure, and then this small higher highs and higher lows found within this whole range is going to be internal structures or minor structures to this whole major structure. So if you did not understand the major structure, the minor structure video, you need to rewatch it, right? Because we are making a build up on that. Now the minor structure break of structure, right? Minor BOS, right? Minor BOS is what? Break of structure that happens on the minor structure, right? And then major BOS is a break of structure that happens it happens on the major structure. So you already know major structure and then you know minor structure. So once you get a break of structure in a major structure, it's called major BOS, right? Or in short, MBOS. And once you get a break of structure, right, in a minor structure, it's called internal break of structure or IBOS, right? And usually we are going to use the IBOS or the MBOS because mentioning the whole thing will be a bit lengthy, but IBOS and MBOS would usually be used in the coming videos, right? So IBOS is internal break of structure. That is, with break of structure, I said the market breaks structure to its internal direction. So if the market is pushing to the upside, it keeps on breaking structure to the upside. In an uptrend market, we don't have break of structure to the downside. The downside break of structure, we'll talk about it, right? Something has to happen before we switch to downside break of structure. Once we start breaking structure to the downside, we are in a downtrend market. Once we start breaking structure to the upside, we are in an uptrend market, right? So now with minor break of structure, we are going to start with minor break of structure. We will be breaking structure to the upside, all right, but it will be happening on on a minor structure. Hence we called out the IBOS. So this will be your IBOS, right? This will be internal break of structure. This will be internal break of structure, right? Internal break of structure, internal break of structure, internal break of structure, internal. This is called the IBOS. Now which ones will be the MBOS? This and this will be your MBOS, because this whole higher high and higher low is your major structure, because all these lows and highs are found within this high and this low. This is the last low formed before we formed all these lows, and this is the last high formed before we formed all these highs. So this will be your major structural break, and this will be your minor structural break. So your IBOS happens on the minor structure, and then MBOS happens on the major structure. Very understandable. So if you don't understand the major structure and the minor structure video, you have to watch it again, and then this is a build up on that. So once you understand that, you'll be able to just put this concept on it, right? You layer this concept on top. So minor structure BOS, major structure BOS, which is break of structure, right? And I said break of structure is the indication to you that the market wants to keep on pushing to its direction, right? So if the market is pushing to the upside and it keeps on breaking structure to the upside, that means the market is trying to tell you, the trader, to keep looking for what buys. Once you get anything other than a break to the upside, then you know that the market is trying to tell you something otherwise, right? So simply put, minor break of structure or internal break of structure, right? IBOS, because I said what the minor structure are internal structures to what the major structure. So IBOS is what break of structure happening on the internal structures, and MBOS is break of structure happening on what, on the major structure, right? On a major structure, right? So yes, so MBOS is major structure break of structure, right? And then IBOS is what, internal structure break of what, structure. So same for the downtrend. If you are breaking lows on the major structure, that is MBOS. If you are breaking lows on the minor structure, these are what, IBOS. So these are IBOS in the downtrend what market. These are these are IBOS in the downtrend market. These are IBOS in the downtrend market. So when you get internal break of structures to the upside in an uptrend market, they are IBOS to the upside, right? And then if you get internal break of structure to the downside, they are IBOS to the downside. So let's try to look at some examples on the charts, right? So now let's first pick our range. And I said a range, if you want to pick your major structure range, let me take a pair that gives you very nice higher highs and higher lows, so we can use that as a perfect example, right? So let's take this, right? Let's take I want a perfect higher high and higher low in the major structure, right? So let's take this, right? Higher high, higher low, higher high, right? Higher low, but we weren't able to create a higher high, right? We came to form what, a lower high. Now, so this is major structure, right? Because of the range, this range is very, very big. So that means that what, any other higher highs or higher lows found within our what, minor structures. So this break here is what, right? Let's go to the 4 hours so that becomes very clear. Now yes, let's take it. Yes, this break of structure, these are all, now this is a higher high, higher low, higher high, higher low, higher high, higher low, right? So this higher high, higher low is an internal structure to this whole high and this whole low. Now this break here will be termed as what, an IBOS, an internal break of structure, an internal break of structure, or a minor break of structure. It works, right? This breaks here will be what, all IBOS to the upside. So you are looking at the uptrend markets, right? You're looking at the uptrend. These will all be IBOS to the what, to the upside. Now the market was temporarily pulling back, having a pullback phase here. So we're in a downtrend market. So this break will be what, an internal what, break of structure to this whole structure. Will be an internal break of structure to the downside to this whole what, structure. So this will be what, an IBOS to the what, to the downside. Now where are we going to have an MBOS? This will be what, an MBOS, a major break of structure, right? Major break of structure. But we were not able to have an MBOS because this high has not been what, taken. So we came to create what, a lower high. So that tells us that price is trying to shift a sentiment to the downside. But we'll talk about all those things later. But just understand that this is what our MBOS, major break of structure, and then this is our minor break of structure, which is what, IBOS, right? IBOS. MBOS, major break of structure, right? Since the major and the minor all have M's at the beginning, that's why I don't want to also use what, MBOS for the minor break of structure. So we use the what, the IBOS, internal break of what, structure, right? Internal break of structure, because another name for minor structural break is what, internal structure, No, another name for minor structure is internal structure. So another name for internal structural break is also minor structural break. So these are all what I boss, internal break of structure to the upside, because all these highs and lows are found within this overall high and overall low, right? If you don't understand this concept, try to watch a video again, or as usual you can DM directly, right? And then the Telegram group, and then you get your answer. So once you join the Telegram, you can DM me directly and then ask your questions, right? If you still having misunderstanding on a specific concept, right? So yes, let's look at scenarios in a downtrend market. We are looking for I boss and M boss scenarios in a downtrend market. So we pushed up. Let's pick a range, right? So let me take this as my lower low, right? Lower high, lower low. Now so this will be our major structure, right? This will be our major structure, downtrend structure. Now this lower low, lower highs are all internal structures to this high and this low, right? So lower low, lower high. This break will be what? An I what? Boss, right? An I boss, I boss, I boss, I boss. Since they are all found within this high and in this low, these will all be internal structures break, internal structural break to the downside, right? In a downtrend market. Now, someone will be wanting to know why we need to learn break of structure, and I said that break of structure is an indication to the market that the market wants to keep pushing to its intended direction. So if you are in a downtrend market, in an uptrend market, let's use the previous. If we are in a downtrend market, if you're in a downtrend market, no, an uptrend, let's use an uptrend market. If you're in an uptrend market, we are having what I boss to the upside. Down, we have something that we call the pullback, and then we learned it in the previous video. Now this will be what the pullback. Now during this pullback, we'll be having what? A temporal downtrend, and this downtrend what? So the market direction is up, but the face is what? To the downside. The current face is to the downside. Now during this temporal downtrend, we'll be having what? Internal what? Break of structure to the downside. Now once the market starts breaking structure to the upside, right? The first break is what? The change of character, but we're talking about that in the next video. Now after the change of character, we have what? A break of structure. So these breaks will be what? Will all be internal break of structure, but we have not yet what? Broken structure on the what? On the major structure. So this I boss will give you an indication that we are shifting what? Bullish, and then we are heading to take out what? This high to create a new structural high, right? So I boss and M boss is what? Is very important in identifying the market's what? Direction, to be able to know what the market is telling you. So once we have a major structural break, the market is giving you a strong confirmation that what? Once you've broken structure on a higher time frame, I want you to keep what? Pushing to the upside. Now the small breaks before we get what? The major break are what? I boss, and these I boss prepares you, the trader, to give you what? Added confluence, or the signal that what? I'm going to what? Head to break what? A major structure. I want to resume my uptrend movement, and then head to break what? A major structure. So internal break of structures are what? Your early signs that the market wants to shift structure to the what? To the upside, right? And then that is internal break of structure to the upside, and then internal break of structure to the downside are your early signs that the market wants to shift structure what? To the downside, right? So once the market breaks a major structure, it gives you an extra confirmation that we are truly heading to the upside. But sometimes you can have internal break of structures, but we can later on shift bearish and then break structure to the downside. We'll be talking about all those scenarios, but just understand that what? Break of structure is an indication to you, the trader, that the market wants to keep on what? Pushing to the upside or to the downside, depending on which side it keeps on breaking, right? Now since we've learned about major structure and minor structure, every break of structure on the major structure are embossed, major structural break, and every break on the minor structure are internal structural breaks, eyeballs, right? So in this downtrend, we have a major structural break. We shift temporarily bullish, and then we start having structural break to the downside. So we have resumed the overall downtrend. So these small major breaks, right? These small internal breaks, right? Minor breaks are to tell you the trader that get prepared. We are going to have a major structural break, right? So once we switch bearish on the minor structure, you can start looking for continuous sells heading to break this down, this lower low on the major structure. And once we switch bullish on the internal structure side of things, and now our internal structure aligns with our major structure uptrend, we can be looking for buys to and target a break of this high. So getting to understand the concept of internal structural break and the major structural break is very important. Once you're able to identify that this is a major structural break, this is a minor structural break, it's going to help you to be able to navigate through the chart and know at any point in time what you have to do, right? So in this case, let's look at this, right? Let's first pick our range, right? Let's first pick our range. So our major structure, and I said major structure deals with what range? So lower low, lower high, right? I want to pick this as my lower low because it's a far enough range, right? And now we are looking to create a new lower high, and then maybe push to the downside. So now all these lower lows, lower highs, lower low, lower highs, lower lows, lower highs are all internal structures to this whole high and this whole low, right? Excuse me for the grammatical errors, right? So all these lower highs and then lower lows are all internal structures to this overall high and this overall low. So these will be eyeballs, internal break of structure to the downside, internal break of structure to the downside to this whole. So this is our lower low, lower high, and these lower highs and lower lows are major structure lower highs and lower low, because this is our range. And now these lower lows and lower highs will be minor structure lower lows and lower highs to this whole structure. So these are minor structural breaks. So once we are in a downtrend and then we keep on having this minor structural breaks, it tells you, the trader, that the market wants to keep on pushing to the downside until you see otherwise. Once you get opposite breaks to the other direction, then you know that the downtrend is has paused, and then we have a temporal pullback, right? The pullback has started. So I'm going to add the concept of change of character to the break of structure, and then we'll be able to know the early signs that is going to tell you, the trader, that the market wants to switch bullish or switch bearish, right? So now you know that ending the break of structure, we'll come back to the break of structure, but I want to introduce the change of character, and then we'll come back to the break of structure, add them together, and then try to let you appreciate the concept, right? So understand that in the market we have a concept or a term called break of structure that traders use a lot. Now this break of structure is your indication to you, the trader, that the market wants to keep on pushing to its direction that is currently moving to, right? And then one takeaway about the break of structure is that we break structure on the right side of the market, on the intended direction of the market. So if the market is pushing to the upside, we'll be breaking structure to the upside. If the market is pushing to the downside, we'll be breaking structure to the downside. So once we are in a downtrend market and then we start breaking structure to the upside, then know that we are not in a downtrend market, right? We are shifting to a uptrend market. So now this will be your break of structure. This will be your break of structure. Now this will be your major break of structure depending on the range, and then the small breaks along these lines will be your eyeballs, your internal break of structure, or your minor break of structure. So break of structure is a term that is going to be used every day in your trading, right? Some traders prefer to indicate them on a chart. Other traders don't. I don't usually do that, but sometimes I do. You can indicate them on the chart, or you can decide not to indicate them. But just understand that break of structure is your indication to you, the trader, that the market wants to keep pushing to the upside or the downside, depending on which side is breaking. And one characteristic of an uptrend market is that we form what? Higher highs and higher lows. So once you are forming higher highs and higher lows and breaking structure to the upside, know that what? We are in an uptrend market. Once we form lower highs and lower lows and breaking structure to the downside, then know that what? We are in a downtrend market. And once you identify your range, any other higher highs or higher lows within the major higher high and the higher low is your what? Is your what? Minor structure or internal structure. And once you identify your downtrend range, major downtrend range, any lower highs and lower lows is your minor structure or internal structure with breaks. Now, once you also identify that range, those breaks, depending on the size, is either going to be what? A minor structural break or what? A major structural break. So an M boss or an I boss. So ending this lesson on break of structure, internal structural boss, and then major structural boss. Now you understand that what we have, what? An M boss and what? An I boss. I boss is internal structural break of structure, and then M boss is major structural break of structure. And then what I said was, repeating myself for the last time, major structural break, we break structure what? On a major structure. So the structure is broken on a major structure. So we are in an uptrend market, we expect to break structure to the upside. So once we keep breaking structure to the upside, it's called what? Break of structure. And depending on which structure is broken, if it's a major structure that is broken, it's called what? An M boss. If it's a minor structure broken, so once you identify your range of the major structure, the other lows within that range is what? Your I what? Boss. It's as simple as that. So we'll be ending with the break of structure. Lastly, break of structure is your indication as a trader the market wants to keep pushing to the downside or the upside. So once you see the market breaking structure to the upside, you can either decide to trade the pullback or wait for the market to what? Shift internally what? Bullish, and then you look for continual buys to the upside. What I mean by that is that when the market is pushing to the upside, right? When the market is pushing to the upside, and then we start pushing down, right? This is going to be what? A pullback. Now you can either decide to trade this pullback, or you wait for the market to shift what? Internally bullish. Now this will be our major structure what? High, and our major structure low, if we are able to overtake this high. So once we shift internal structure shift what? Bullish. Internal structure shift bullish, we can look for buys to target these highs, and then we create a new high, and then major structural high. So these are all internal structures to this one, to this low and this high, and then this high. So once we start shifting bearish, you can wait for what? Your minor structure to shift in accordance to what? Your major structure. We'll be going in depth to this, but try to understand the concept. So we'll be ending this video. Don't forget to like and then subscribe the videos, and also try to leave your comments below.